What's poppin' YouTube, and welcome to my channel, Astro Finesse. It's your boy Lil Finesse Jiggy Hippie, back with another video for y'all. And in this video right here, first video of the brand new series, we're gonna talk about if you have planets in the first house and what the first house represents in the birth chart. Now before you watch this, if you haven't seen my introduction video, go ahead and handle that one time, because that kind of gives you like a broad overview of what the houses are and the quadrants and the hemispheres and all that. So go ahead and check that out. So in this video, talking about what it means when you have different planets in the first house. And now pause for the cause. You thought I forgot that, right? If you just start off, if you're a brand new subscriber of this channel, if you're just starting off your journey of self-love and self-knowledge, self-understanding, if you don't realize why it's so important, if nobody told you how to read your birth chart, nobody told you about what it means having Mars and Venus and all this stuff. If you're just starting off your journey, basically, don't worry, I got you. There's a couple of videos. I put the link in the description. You have to watch them first to become hip to the knowledge of what I'm about to talk about right now. So if you looked at your birth chart and you realize that you have a lot of different planets in the first house, or if you have nothing in the first house, I'm gonna talk about what that means. And also I'm gonna talk about what it means to have a stellium, which is having 3 or more planets in one house. So without further ado, let's just get it popping, shall we? Now, all right, so let's get it popping. So first of all, what is first house? Now the first house, as I said in my introduction video, is in the first quadrant in the birth chart. First house ruled by the first sign of the zodiac is Aries. So the first house represents that I am energy. So it's your personal identity. It's in the first quadrant. So it's your personal identity. First house energy is all about the self. Your rising sign is a first house cusp. So your rising sign is in the first house. So it's your first impression. When people see you for the first time, it's kind of how your personality acts when you're like first in a new environment. It's your first impression. It's your first go-to energy when it comes to how you're acting, interacting with people. When you have certain planets in the first house, kind of changes the way your personality portrays out. Certain planets in the first house change the way you look, change the way people perceive you. So I'm gonna talk about what it means having the different planets in the first house. So starting off, if you have your sun in the first house, now we already know the sun is ruled by Leo. So it's kind of relatable to having a Leo rising. And I have a Leo rising video. Go check that out for like a more in-depth video on what the Leo rising means. But having your sun in the first house, having remember the sun is ruled by the ego. That's why Leos have a large ego, because they're ruled by the sun. So your sun is your ego. So it's having your ego, it's having your sun planet in the first house of self. So you will have a very large you will have very large self-esteem about yourself. You'll be very confident about yourself. You will have a very kind of like an air about yourself, a slight arrogance about yourself. You'd be very confident. Like I said, it's similar to that Leo rising. So wherever you go, your first impression, people will see that sun energy. People will see you shining. You should be using this energy to be like a motivator or an encourager to people, because you could be the example of that shining sun, and people automatically gravitate towards you and they automatically notice you because you're shining that light energy. So sun in the first house people are very noticeable. They're very in your face. You can see them. They're very aggressive, low key, as in like they're very in your face. You see them. They're shining in front of your face. That's the ego. Very high self-esteem, very confident people. Sun in the first house. So having your moon in the first house, similar to having like a Cancer rising, because remember Cancer rules the moon. So these people put their emotion, the moon, in front of them. That's the first thing you see when you see them. That's like their initial reaction to things, is what they put their emotions through. They kind of wear their emotions on their sleeve kind of thing. These people are very nurturing when you first meet them. These people are very emotionally in tune with the environment. So having this placement, understand that if you put yourself in certain situations with people that kind of drain energy, or people that kind of very aggressive around you, or when you're always, because you're very sensitive to energies and frequencies. So when you're around people that are very like draining and toxic to you, you feel that on a deep level, and it's in your first house, it's in your I am house, it's in your personal identity house. So it will resonate with you on a deeper level. When you have your sun in the first house, you will be very sensitive to people around you. You'll be very caregiving and caretaking as well, because you wear your emotions on your sleeve. Like I said, you identify yourself through your emotions. The moon in the first house, you identify yourself, your personal identity, through your emotions, the way you express your emotions. Very caregiving, very nurturing type people. Very sensitive people too at the same time. So moving on, if you have your Mercury in the first house, similar to having a Gemini rising or Virgo rising, depending on what sign your first house is in. But having a Mercury in your first house, your first impression, people will first see you and you will be like out in the world, put your first foot forward out in the world through the Mercury lens, which is very communicative, very intelligent, very analytical. That Mercury energy, that Mercury rules Virgo and Gemini, so like very analytical, very chatty, very peeps everything, is just very changeable and movable energy. Very like, you know, not flighty, but very, how do I put this? Como se dice, very, can really see things on a very fast manner. Because remember, Mercury is the fastest moving planet, so y'all peep things in a very fast way. So your physical appearance will be that of like, you could have an eye that wanders around a lot, like I said in my Gemini rising video. You could be the type that could be very smart, as in you're always wanting to have intellectual conversations, always wanting to peep the details and things, always wanting to talk about things that matter. You don't really care about the mundaneness of life or the taboo-ness of life, but you have to care about the things that actually matter in an intellectual way, in a very communicative way too. So Mercury, having a Mercury in the first house, your first impression people see you as, oh, this person's mad smart, or this person is very communicative, this person knows how to talk very well, this person is very puts their hands in a lot of different baskets at the same time too. But you identify yourself through your intelligence. You identify yourself through the way you speak, through the way you communicate, through the way you listen to people and gain and grasp information at the same time. So having Venus in the first house, similar to having a Libra rising or a Taurus rising. So automatically off the bat, your first impression, what people see you as, is that Venus energy. So these people are very physically Venusian-like attractive, very Venus-like attractive. So everywhere you go, you will notice that people like are complimenting you about your looks. Damn, you look so good, or you're so beautiful. You identify yourself through Venus type things, through beauty. So you like to look nice, you like to smell good, you like to buy nice things, you like to surround yourself around nice things. And your identity is through how people react to you. So at the same time, understand that having this placement, you could kind of see yourself through the lens of other people. Think about that Libra energy, how Libras care about the other people before themselves in a way. So you kind of like care about relationships on a deeper level, because how people perceive you, how people look at you, how people talk to you, how people interact with you, correlates to how you feel about yourself. So keep that in mind, that you don't really put too much emphasis on other people and how they look at you. Or do I look good today? If I don't look good, then I feel like shit. Or if I don't look good, then I'm not nobody. Like a lot of times you put yourself as like, if nobody's noticing me, or if nobody thinks I'm attractive or harmonious or balanced, or if nobody thinks about this thing about myself, then I'm not nothing. So keep in mind that you could put yourself into other people's shoes. You could put your identity into other people's hands, if that makes sense. But that's that Venus in the first house. Your first impression is very attractive, that Venusian quality. And again, watch my Libra rising video or my Taurus rising video, depending on what sign it's in. Like I said, but we'll give you even more deeper understanding of what it's like having Venus in your first house. That physical appearance is going to be Venusian. Now having Mars in the first house, Venus is all about love and beauty and harmony. Mars is all about action and war and aggression. So Venus is like the feminine energy, Mars is the masculine energy. So having a Mars in your first house, your first impression is like, yo, this person is very masculine. This person is all about the action, very direct, wants to get to the point. So the men that have this placement are like the alpha type, very in your face, very aggressive. The women that have this placement can be labeled as, you know, alpha women or bossy a little bit, or like to run things a little bit. They could find it a harder time being like soft and feminine, because they actually want to take charge. They want to be direct. They actually want to take action. That's that Mars energy in the first house of yourself, of your personal identity. So you identify yourself through the Mars energy, through the action-oriented energy, through the directness energy, through the I want what I want, so I'm going to get it. I'm assertive, I'm in your face, I don't care how you feel in the way. So opposite to Venus in the first house, how they care about other people before they think about themselves, The Mars in the first house people care about themselves big time before they even like worry about what other people think about them. So keep this in mind too, that how you act and what you do affects people around you. You can be the type to be so self-motivated, so within yourself, so assertive, so direct and all that, so blunt that you don't really care about how people are affected or what they think about you or what they say. I'm not saying you should care about it to the max, but understand that, keep in mind that what you do affects people around you. Like I said, Venus first house, care too much. Mars in first house, don't care at all. So it's all about having that balance. So moving on, having Pluto in your first house is similar to having a Scorpio rising. Pluto rules Scorpio, so it's like your initial appearance, your first impression, how you identify yourself in the world is through that Pluto scorpionic lens. It's through that dark, undercover, sexual lens. So a lot of times these people, automatically you're first looked at as, yo, this person is mad intense. This person is very low key, but when I look at them, I could tell there's a lot of things going on under the surface. Remember, Pluto rules the underworld. Pluto is all about the things that are hidden and things that are taboo, things that are not seen underneath the surface. So your physical appearance will look like, yo, this person is very interesting. This person is very mysterious. This person is very sexually attractive too, because Pluto rules sex. So very sexually attractive, but it's like they could tell that you're trying to hide something because you're very cut off. You could wear a lot of black. You could wear a lot of like things that are covering up yourself a lot, or you could be the exact opposite and be very sexually appealing to the max and very sexually attractive. So you actually kind of wear less clothes. So it's either like you're being very sexually charged, or you're trying to cover it up by wearing a lot of black and like trying to hide a lot. So people that have Pluto in the first house really look like they're just very strong, powerful people that's like bottled up, and like at any second that's why people either love you or hate you, because they could tell that, all right, so if I say anything wrong, or if I kind of offend this person, any small thing's gonna just pop and erupt, and the person's gonna be like really aggressive, very intense in my face. So it's like y'all have this way of not saying nothing, not doing nothing, but commanding respect, commanding power to yourself, because it's like it's your first impression. It's in the first house. So people look at you and automatically you kind of look like you're powerful as fuck, even if you don't say nothing. So understand how strong that is. And if you have a Scorpio rising and a Pluto in the first house, just listen to what I said and add that times like 10,000 kind of thing. It's like you have that strong presence about yourself. The reason why people don't like you sometimes is like they feel that. They're like, damn, this person thinks they're tough shit. Even though I'm low-key afraid of this person because they look so powerful, I'm gonna hate on them. I'm gonna hate on her because I don't like her, because I don't like him, because they feel like they're more better than everybody else. They like being by themselves a lot. A lot of times these people really like being by themselves and like rolling like a lone wolf kind of thing. And even them being by themselves, they kind of give that presence and that power of like they have an army behind them based off of their intense energy they give out to people. So understand how strong having Pluto in the first house is. It's your first impression. It's your personal identity. You identify yourself through the lens of Pluto, through the lens of power, through the lens of underneath the surface, peeping things, reading between the lines, and through the lens of that sexual energy. I've never met a Pluto first house person, female, that was not sexually attractive. These people are very sexually attractive on the low, like low key. They can really be very laid back on the low key, but they can still command, and they're so magnetic. They can still grasp a lot of people through just their magnetic power and Pluto energy. So keep that in mind. So now having Neptune in the first house. Neptune rules Pisces, so similar to having like a Pisces rising. So you identify yourself through the Neptune lens. Very spiritual people. You could look like people come up to me like, yo, you look like this person I know, or I feel like I've seen you before somewhere, I met you before somewhere. People kind of like, they kind of create their own imaginative way of describing you in their head. Because people that have Neptune in the first house, people know you, but they don't know you. Like they see how you look and all that, but they don't really know who you are, because Neptune is really it's all about the disguise and illusions and the delusions. It's all about things that are not, because Neptune rules Pisces. Pisces is a subconscious mind, so things that are not seen. So it's like people like, that person, I know that, I've seen that person before, but I don't know who they are. And that causes them to create their own, remember, imaginative, imaginary, outer worldly, so in the other reality, another realm, to create their own kind of representation of you in their head, and they see you through that. So a lot of times people that have Neptune in the first house, people treat you based off how they think you are, not knowing that you probably are completely different from what they think you are in a way. So having this placement, also understand that you need to be very spiritually in tune with yourself. You need to be very spiritually in tune with the environment. You're not the type to want to be of this world. And when I say that, meaning like being of the material world too much, but you have to be in touch with the outer worldly things of the spiritual world, of the ethers and the universe and all those outer worldly things. And understand that people will look at you and they'll be mesmerized by you, because you're just like a whole nother being. You're just like a whole nother spiritual being that nobody has ever seen before. Remember, it's in the first house, so it's like the first impression. When they first see you, how they perceive you for the first time, how you look at yourself and how you view yourself, your self identity through that Neptune lens. Very hard to pinpoint who that Neptune person is, because they really have an outer worldly aura around them. It's very like mystical and spiritual aura around them that they have. So now having a Uranus in the first house, similar to having an Aquarius rising. So you're going to be looking at yourself, your personal identity through the Uranus lens. So these are the type people that, like I said in my Aquarius rising video, will come to work one day with a dyed red hair and like act like nothing happened. They change their look all the time. They really crave and love being individualistic and being themselves. These are the type of people that you will see a Uranus in the first house person. Like that person is so different, so eccentric, so independent. People that have Uranus in the first house really care about how they look, as in being individualistic and being different. Like they're the type to actually, they see everybody wearing red, all right, so I'm actually going to come to work, or I'm actually going to come up to the scene wearing yellow or wearing white because everybody else is wearing red. They actually care about, they actually purposely want to be different because they actually love that individualism about themselves. So having Uranus in the first house, your outer appearance, your personal identity has that Uranus energy inside. So you want to be very, very eccentric and very different. At the same time, you're going to care about humanity, care about the world, care about a lot of people. At the same time, you could be a loner having this placement too. So you could like love people, love the world, but then always by yourself, always so different, always against the grain, always doing your own thing. So it's kind of that contradiction of this person wants to help the world, but they're so different and so such loners, and they're so eccentric and different. So keep that in mind with the Uranus in the first house, that people look at you like you're different and weird, but you being weird and eccentric and different is what you love. That's what your identity is. It's like, I'm a different person. I love the world, but I'm my own person. I'm not gonna be like everybody else, but I want to help change things. All about changing and progressing life. That's how Uranus in the first house plays out. And that's your first impression. That's how you look at yourself, your personal identity. So people that have Saturn in the first house, Saturn is, you already know, Saturn is that father figure. Saturn kind of makes things difficult at first. So it's kind of similar to having a Capricorn rising. So having a Saturn in the first house, you will be looked at as a disciplinarian. When I say that, you'll be looked at like you're very serious. You take things very seriously. You're very dependent person. You work very hard. You're very organized. You do things. You kind of grew up fast. So you do things in a very serious manner, because Saturn kind of has that, your personality, your identity is through that Saturn lens. So it's like, oh damn, so Saturn is ruling this, so now I have to be serious about things. I have to work hard. I have to grind. I want to get to the top. I want to be successful, so I got to work hard and grind. That Capricorn energy. So people look at you like, yo, this person's mad serious. Damn, this person works mad hard. Damn, this person is very mature. Saturn's all about maturity. Remember, maturity is what, like, you know, after your age of 30, Saturn return comes every 30 years. So maturity comes as time goes on. Saturn is like father time. So you will have this presence, you have this aura of just maturity, and don't play around too much, don't mess around too much. I'm here for a reason. I'm here to get the job done. I'm here to be successful. Like, I want things to be right, and I want to be the person doing it right. So they have this aura of very mature, serious demeanor. At the same time, they love working, love being successful, because they want things to be the way they want to be. So having this placement, you will go through a lot of different roles in life, as in like your personal identity, the way you express yourself could be tainted a little bit, especially earlier on in your life, because Saturn makes things slow. So at first it's gonna, like I said in my Saturn series, you can watch the Saturn and Aries video for more information on this, but at first it's gonna make it hard for you to express yourself, to be confident in yourself. You're gonna be very tough on yourself. You could have grew up where you have parents or a family environment that kind of shut you down when you wanted to express yourself, kind of said, nah, I don't talk too much, or nah, I don't want to listen to you. So you kind of viewed yourself through the lens of how people treated you growing up. So at first it could be hard having that confidence within yourself, but you already know as time goes on, as you become more mature, you will gain like that confidence naturally. You will gain that presence naturally, that wherever you go, people will notice you and they will respect you naturally. It's like y'all have that manager, like I always say, the manager, CEO kind of energy, that when you're working, you see the manager coming in or the CEO of business coming in, you automatically like have that in your mind, that sense of respect when you see them. When people see you for the first time, the first impression is, damn, this person, I respect this person, because they're very about their business, very serious. They don't play no games kind of thing. So now having Jupiter in the first house, remember Jupiter, everywhere Jupiter goes, it expands it. So having Jupiter in your first house, your first impression, the way you identify yourself, your self-identity, you have like a bigger than life kind of personality. You have a bigger than life kind of optimism. You'd be very optimistic, very enthusiastic about life. Keep in mind though, remember Jupiter expands everywhere it goes. So when it comes to the physical appearance, when it comes to your first house, people that have Jupiter in their first house need to be aware that they don't overindulge on things that will make their physical appearance expand, as in like, eating too much, or eating too much junk food, or even working out too much too. You could do that and overwork yourself too. So just keep in mind that Jupiter does things on an overindulgent kind of way if you're working towards it in a negative. But in the positive aspect of this, you will have this joyous, jovial kind of energy about yourself. People will see you for the first time and like, yo, this person is so dope. This person is just so like bright, so bigger than life. It's just so enthusiastic, just has all this knowledge about things, this philosophical knowledge. And your philosophy on life will be about yourself. That first house will be about your body. You'll be the type that actually wants to learn about how to different ways of working out, different health regimens, as in like your body, not the sixth house Virgo energy, but when it comes to taking care of your physical appearance in your body. So keep in mind, like I said, Jupiter people, try not to overindulge in things that will make your body expansive. But these people would generally, especially the women, will have like, bigger hips, wider thighs. Like they'll just have more enthusiastic or more prominent physical features that are expansive. So keep that in mind for these people. So those are the main planets of what it represents, having that in your first house. So now having a stellium in your first house, which is 3 planets, 3 or more planets in the same house, that means that in this lifetime, that area in life, which is your first house, the I am, your personal identity, yourself, is going to be emphasized. Now, depending on what is in the stellium, let's say you have Saturn and you have Venus and you have Mars in the first house. Saturn being in there is called conjunction. So it's going to be those 3 energies, those 3 planets are together. So even though it is a stellium, so you will look like you might think that having a stellium in the first house means that automatically going to be very confident, automatically going to be very assertive and all that. But depending on what planets are in there, so Saturn being in there is going to make it tough. Like I said, Saturn's going to kind of slow it down. Even though you'd be very attractive, Saturn in there will kind of make it hard for you to see that about yourself at first. Even though you can be very assertive with that Mars energy, Saturn in there will kind of make it hard for you to see that about yourself at first. So knowing what planets are in the houses, or knowing what planets are together, working together, kind of changes everything, makes it different. But having a stellium in the house means that that area in life is what you're going to be more focused on in this lifetime. Having no planets in the house does not mean that, oh, so I don't have to worry about my personal identity. I don't have to worry about my self-assertiveness. It just means that in this lifetime, that area is not emphasized. But if you don't look at it and you kind of just blow past, if you don't look at it and you kind of just like don't worry about it, you're not going to have that balance in life that you need. So having a stellium in the house means more emphasis. Having nothing in the house means that you don't have to really, means it's not emphasized, but you still have to pay attention to it so you can have that balance in this lifetime, if that makes sense. So that's the basic overview of what having different planets in the first house represents. Now, my next video, I'm going to talk about having those planets in the second house, and I'm going to move on to the third house, fourth house, and going on and on. So stay tuned for that. If you have subscribed to my channel, you already know. I appreciate all y'all for real. Like for real, we're growing crazy fast. If you haven't subscribed yet though, I don't know what you're waiting for. Go ahead and handle that one time for your boy. Don't forget to drink your water, mind your business, and be safe out here. It's your boy Lil Finesse, Jiggy Hippie. I'ma see all y'all when I see y'all.